So when you ask somebody who's in the dating game, what are you looking for? What is important to you? What are you seeking in a partner? So most people will have somewhat of a list that they can produce in their mind, if not on paper. What are their priorities? And they'll say things, I want a nice person, I want somebody who is outgoing, adventurous, somebody who's kind-hearted, who's family-minded. They'll list various different attributes that they're looking for. But usually they won't say at the top of the list that they're looking for somebody attractive. But in reality, it seems that might be on the top of their list, because if you then ask them, how about this person? And you suggest somebody who seems to fit the list that they have just produced, and they say, nah, not my type, not for me. Why not? What's wrong? And if you scratch the surface a little bit, the answer is often just, I'm not attracted. Well, hang on, that wasn't on the list. You just said this person fit the list, but now you're adding another one to attraction. Well, of course you have to be attracted. I mean, that's obvious. It goes without saying. But then, so it should be on the list. I want someone who is attractive. I'm attracted to. Also, often when a relationship doesn't work out, meaning, somebody has gone on a date, they've agreed to meet somebody, and then didn't work out. So very often, when you ask why, what was it? So the words are things like the chemistry wasn't there, or no magic, or spark, there wasn't a spark, and similar statements, which all of those are really euphemisms for I wasn't attracted. We're not attracted. So it seems that attraction is the elephant in the room in relationships today. The thing that everyone seems to be thinking about very much as a big priority, but no one seems to be talking about straight on, openly, as this is really what it is. And that's because, we don't want to sound too superficial or external or judging by looks only. But in reality, it seems that's what we're doing. I mean, certainly if you observe the ways that people are meeting these days through various apps and online systems, many of them are completely and totally based on looks. You look and you swipe, and it's all based on a first impression. Maybe this is fine. Maybe that's good. Maybe this is the way to find your mate. Am I attracted or not? If I'm attracted, if there's a spark, if it happens, good. If not, then not. What else are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to not be attracted? Or not care about attraction? Are we supposed to be above that? That doesn't matter to us? Is that how we're supposed to be? Well, who is that? Who is on a level where attraction means nothing to them? On the other hand, it does seem somewhat superficial, skin deep, to think that a relationship can begin and end with attraction. That if there's attraction there, everything's fine, and if not, so then nothing to talk about. Is that really the case? If you think about it, the connection between attraction and relationship is a bit spurious. Like, what's one to do with the other? Attraction here, we're talking on the physical level, a physical attraction. What's that to do with a relationship? Relationship, attraction. Well, I mean, we bundle the two together, but what are they actually to do with each other? If a relationship is about building a togetherness, a oneness, what's that to do with physical attraction? What's the connection to it? Imagine you're looking for a house, you're house hunting, and you see a house online, beautiful, amazing pictures of this house. It looks absolutely fantastic. So you can't buy it based on that. You have to check this house out. You have to do a bit of research. You have to find out what is beneath that. Because that house could have terrible foundations, it could smell terribly, it could be on a horrible block, it could be about to fall apart. You have no idea based on just a superficial look at it, even though it looks great. And one would be foolish to think that you could just buy the house based on these pictures. And even though we know that what do real estate agents do to sell a house? They come with a decorator and they redo the whole house. They redo everything in the house and make a total transformation of it. They change the decor, change the furniture, put different plants and different paintings up and completely turn it around. And the owners of the house often will spend quite a bit of money getting this all together. Is that really going to make a difference? Does it really make a difference if an interior decorator comes to my house and transforms it? What, that's going to sell my house? Someone's going to say, wow, look at this beautiful placement of these pot plants. I want to buy this house. Is that what happens? Anyone could do that to any house. Do it at your house. Get the interior decorator. Don't buy a house. Just get the interior decorator to come to your house and do it. Is that going to convince somebody?
But it gives the atmosphere of a warm, livable house.
Right. So what we're doing, it's exactly right. What we're doing is we're taking a warm, livable house and we're bringing a decorator in to create an impression of a warm, livable house. It was lived in.
Yeah.
But the lived in, that's not going to work. It has to have a look, a certain look. And it works. It does work. There's no question this works. I mean, the real estate agents know how to sell a house. And they know that this works. That people will fall in love with a house because of the way it's presented, the decoration of it. Even though that may or may not be such a fantastic house. But the look gets us. And so if we then apply that to relationships, if this is what attraction means, that I see somebody and I'm attracted, I like the look. So I would ask the same question, but what's that to do with a relationship? That's the decorations. That's the external presentation. What does that to do with the person? So if we look at this from the point of view of Kabbalah, of the Jewish mystical tradition, based on what the Torah says about beauty, we get a bit of a mixed message. Because on the one hand, we know a very important verse that is in the book of Proverbs, the book of Mishlei, written by King Solomon, that says, Sheker hachen v'hevel hayofi isha yirat Hashem hi tetalal, which means that charm is false and beauty is empty. A woman who fears God, she should be praised. This was written by King Solomon, although it's said, the tradition says that he was actually quoting Abraham, the first Jew, who was eulogizing his wife Sarah, the first Jewish woman, when she passed away. And then entire chapter 33 of the book of Proverbs, which is known as Eshes Chayil, the woman of valor, a beautiful poem extolling the virtues of a good woman, is actually Abraham's eulogy to Sarah. A beautiful, very powerful thing. It's sung in many homes on Friday night, at the Friday night table, Eshet Chayil. So this, the second last line of it, Sheker achen v'hevel yofi, that charm is false Beauty is empty. A woman who fears God, she should be praised. They're pretty harsh words. Sheker, false, is charm, and empty is beauty. Beauty is empty. It's nothing. Fearing God is what's important. This is what Abraham said about his wife Sarah. So that seems to be presenting a very clear view on physical attraction and beauty, that it's just not important. In fact, less than that. It's emptiness and falsehood. On the other hand, the Torah describes many individuals, Sarah included, as being beautiful, and describes her beauty as if it's important. It says about Sarah that in her old age she had the beauty of her youth, she never lost it. Abraham himself notices her beauty and describes her beauty as being beautiful. We find other of the matriarchs, specifically Rebecca and Rachel, also being described by the Torah as being beautiful of form, beautiful of appearance. We find men also being described as beautiful, particularly Joseph was described as being a very beautiful man. And so it seems, on the other hand, that there is some importance given to beauty, that people are described this way. The Torah takes pains to describe people as being beautiful, as if this is something important to know about them. It's not just emptiness, it is significant. So we need to analyze what is the place of beauty? Why are we attracted to beauty? What does beauty actually mean? And what has it got to do with a relationship? What's the connection between beauty and a relationship? Why should being beautiful have anything to do with us wanting to connect with that person? And so, to do this, we need to go on a bit of a journey to understand where attraction comes from on a deeper Kabbalistic level. One of the principles of Kabbalah is that any urge in the human being, any desire that we have, even if it be a lowly desire, or an ugly desire, or even an immoral desire, every desire we have has a holy source. That in its essence there is a spark of goodness in it. It has just fallen. It has become corrupted. It is fallen down. That the human being is made up of various urges because we have various sides to us. We have an animalistic, instinctive side to us which just wants to feed and enjoy and indulge. And we also have a divine, holy side to us which is altruistic, elevated and pure. And even our animalistic side has a holy source to it. It's a fallen side to our personality. And so therefore anything we want, it's an external expression of something deeper. There's a deeper reality to it. And if we extract its holiness, we will find what it really means. The Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement and one of the greatest mystics and teachers of Kabbalah, he said that this is true of every urge. An example he says is the urge to eat. One of the most basic urges that we have all the time. That we are hungry most of the time. Usually very soon after eating one meal, we already a bit peckish to have something else, and we just keep on eating. Some of us eat healthy, some of us not healthy, but it's all eating. It's still eating, and it's still an urge, and it's still a level of indulgence. For some, indulging means chocolate cake. For others, it means quinoa. But it's all eating in the end, and it's all a physical urge. The Baal Shem Tov said that within the physical urge to eat is actually a spiritual urge to elevate the world. Because the act of eating, when we consume something, we're ingesting a physical object. It's becoming a part of us. And our mission is to then utilize the energy of what we've eaten to do something good in the world. Do a mitzvah. Make the world better. Only we can do that. The food can't make the world better, but we can eat the food and make the world better with the energy of the food. And so the Baal Shem Tov says, when you have an urge to eat, really it's an urge to elevate a part of the world. That's what your soul wants. And so if you have an urge to eat this particular food, that's because there's a spark of godly energy in that food that your soul is seeking out to elevate, to lift up. This is a great way of explaining why you keep going to the pantry and raiding the pantry constantly, because I have such an urge to elevate the world and help the world be lifted, so I just need to keep on eating. And why this specific food? Because it has sparks of holiness that belong to my soul. Of course, that explanation will only hold up if indeed you're using that energy to do good. If you're just using the energy to find more food, then that doesn't really justify it. But if you use the energy to do more good, then yes. It just parenthetically, the Rebbe himself didn't eat a lot. But one thing he did eat was chocolate. He did eat chocolate. And perhaps because of the energy it gave him or whatever it was, and he was able to elevate it. Again, this is another fantastic justification for us to say we're just emulating the Rebbe by eating a lot of chocolate. So the concept is the Baal Shem Tov says that in what could be understood as just a purely physical urge, there's actually a holy drive underneath it. That doesn't mean that every time we eat we're being holy. It doesn't mean that. It means that at the core the urge is to be holy. That's what our soul wants to do, to elevate the world. Of course we can ignore that inner urge and we can be fooled by the externality of it. Just the urge to eat, and we can just indulge and eat and eat and eat and not fulfill the divine mission, which is to take the food and to allow it to energize our good deeds, to do good with it. We can ignore it and just be external and superficial about it. But the real urge is an urge to do good, to elevate the world. And so our mission is to try and keep that focus, to remember that our physical body is the vehicle for our soul. Our physical life is just an expression for a higher mission that we're on. And so therefore, eating is good, is fine, because eating powers our mission. If you haven't eaten, then you can't concentrate, you don't have energy, and you can't do good in the world. So every physical act can be left in its external shell. We can look at it from its superficial view, eating just to indulge, to enjoy, or we can see the inner spark in it, that there's a deeper meaning of it, there's a deeper meaning within it. And the same will be with physical attraction. That one of the most basic human responses is to be attracted to a person, attraction to another. That physical attraction can be seen as a very hedonistic, lowly thing, that a purely skin-deep desire that can lead to a very immoral way of life, just following every attraction and every urge that we have. Or we can excavate underneath that urge to see what's its real driver. What is really pushing me? What am I actually attracting to? What am I seeking? What is it really about? And then redeem the holiness within that attraction. So we need to understand what is the spiritual impetus behind physical attraction. What's the soul of physical attraction? What's beneath the surface? So to do this, we've got to go back, all the way back, to the beginning of humankind, the first couple, Adam and Eve. And the Kabbalists point out a certain detail in the creation of Adam and Eve that will give us an understanding of what the secret of attraction really is. For those of us who grew up with Adam and Eve's story, it's one of the most famous stories in Western culture, that God created Adam, the very first man, in the Garden of Eden. And at a certain point, said that Adam alone is no good. He needs a mate, a partner. So God created Eve. Now, if I were to ask you, what was Adam made from? Adam was made from, anyone remember? In the biblical story, what was Adam made out of? The dust of the earth. The word Adam in Hebrew is from Adamah, which means the ground. The Adam was made from the ground. God formed his body from the ground, breathed a breath of life into him. God's breath was his soul. And so that is Adam. What was Eve made out of?
Rib.
Adam's rib. So this is based on one translation of the biblical story, that from what's called the tzelah in Hebrew, which means the rib of Adam, was made Eve. But interestingly, that's not how the Talmud understood this story. The Talmud is the oral tradition, the embellishments and explanations of the biblical story. The Talmudic tradition understood the word tzelah not as rib, but as side, from Adam's side. And the Talmud says that it's not that Eve was a creation from the rib of Adam, but rather that Eve was Adam's side. The language used in the Talmud is du partsufim, that it was a two-headed being that was created, Adam and Eve, what we would maybe call a Siamese twin. There was but even deeper than a Siamese twin. It was one being with two sides. And the creation of Eve was the splitting of this two-sided being into two separate entities, two separate autonomous beings, man and woman. And that's because the word tzelah, it can be translated as rib, but it can also be translated as side. And so that's how the Talmud understood the story. Now, this is a very different story. When we read it that way, it totally transforms the entire story. Because if Eve was made from Adam's rib, so that makes her into like a separate entity. He sort of donated an organ, he had donated a rib towards her creation, and then she was formed as a new being. But if she was Adam's side, so there was one side male, one side female, and they were split. So what that means is that the original entity was a male and female entity, two-sided entity, that was then split into two autonomous beings. So she was there all along, just not as a separate being, she was separated off from him. This is borne out from a reading of the verses themselves. It does say very clearly, if you look back in the book of Genesis at the creation of the first humans, it says that in the image of God, he created him. God created him in the image of God. Male and female, he created them. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Which, in one statement, is saying that there was this being created in the image of God, male and female. Now, this story, the story of Genesis, is not just telling us an interesting, beginnings of humankind. This is where we came from, just as a matter of history. It's explaining to us the core of male and female, the origins of the male and the female, of Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve represent the ultimate male and ultimate female, as we are in our core. And so what we're studying when we're studying Adam and Eve is we're studying ourselves. We're not studying them, we're studying what we are. And so what the Torah here is expressing is that male and female are essentially one, that have been split. We're not separate beings that can come together. We're one being that has been split. The natural state, the created state of Adam and Eve were one. We're together. The unnatural, introduced state was to be split, to be separated. Now, here we have an obvious question. God should have planned this in advance. He surely thought this out. Did he want male and female separate, or did he want male female together? If he wanted us separate, why didn't he create a man and a woman? If he wanted us together, why did he split the male and the female? Why? We don't find this by any other creature. The buffaloes and the donkeys and the fish and the rabbits were all created male, female, separate entities. Separate beings in the first place. There was no togetherness that was split. Only the human being was created male, female together and then split afterwards. God doesn't have an afterthought. He doesn't fix things up later. He doesn't change his mind. So why would we create it as one and then split apart? So this, the Kabbalistic stages teach, is the secret of male and female. Had God created us as two separate species, had he created a male and a female, an Adam and an Eve, then we could never get together. We could never match, we could never get on. Because ultimately we're two separate species. We could create a partnership, an agreement, a contract. We could have certain common interests, like we can have with the animal kingdom as well. We could have a relationship, a connection we could have, but a oneness you couldn't have. If man was created as a man, woman as a woman, as two separate beings, so then our essence is separate. Separateness is our default position. Togetherness would be an invention, would be an addition, would be something that we could try and superimpose, but it wouldn't be our natural state. So God couldn't have created us as two separate beings if he wants us to have a relationship. On the other hand, if he would have left us as these connected beings, as Adam and Eve joined at the side, two sides of one entity, if we would have been left that way, well, then that's not a relationship either. You can't have a relationship with an extension of yourself, with a side of yourself. Okay, we do that sometimes, but it's not a very real relationship. You can have we talk to ourselves. Well, we do that a lot, and we sometimes argue with ourselves. We disagree with ourselves sometimes as well, but it's not a real relationship. That's just my imagination. And if Adam and Eve stayed connected with each other as one being, so then that wouldn't be a relationship. There'd be no choice there. There'd be no finding each other. There'd be no connecting with each other. They'd just be automatically joined. What God wanted was to create two beings that are really one, that belong together, but that they have to find each other, that they have to create the oneness. They have to overcome parts of themselves to create a unity and a bond. To make that possible, they were created as one. But to make it real, they were split to find each other. So this changes our whole view of what a relationship actually is. Without the Adam and Eve story, if we would just be scientists who reject any spirituality, or we would just be not interested in all of this stuff, just be observing life as it comes to us. So we see that there are guys, there are girls, and there is this yearning we have for a relationship. but we would understand that as being something in addition to us. There's me. I'm a being, a complete being. I don't need you to complete me. I can join with you. You can add to my life. You can give me your perspective. I can have interesting experiences with you. I can see things differently through your eyes. We can enjoy each other's company. But I don't essentially need you, because I am me. I'm not missing anything. It will just enhance my life, add something to have you in my life. That's how I would assume it is. That's how I'd assume a relationship is. Just because I wouldn't call myself a deficient person. We're not comfortable saying that I'm a half-baked being. I'm incomplete. In fact, we're very discouraged to say that today. To say that you're incomplete. Or if you're incomplete, you've got to work on yourself. You go and complete yourself, and then we'll talk about a relationship. But until you've completed your stuff, don't start introducing somebody else into your problems. Don't become codependent, or find vicariously living through somebody else, or using a relationship as a crutch to hold yourself up. You've got to be yourself. You've got to be complete. You've got to be everything. You've got to have it all worked out. Be completely independent. Then you're ready to introduce somebody else into your territory. Then you're strong enough to have a relationship. Well, that's not what the Torah is saying. The Torah is saying is, you're half a being. You're only half the story. Like, you're one side, and there's another side of your coin, there's another side of your being, that until you connect, you're not complete. And that's okay. That's fine. That you need somebody else to complete you? Good. That's normal. That's great. That's fantastic. As long as you realize that, that's good. As long as you think that that's not the case, then there's a bit of a worry. Because you're walking around half a being, thinking that I'm complete. That's not good news. You have to realize you're half a being, and there's another half that needs to complete you. That is your completeness. That's good. You can be the full half. Like is that the half a sandwich short of a picnic, or like you've got to be the full half a sandwich. Like but you can only be that much on your own. And if you're not feeling the halfness, that's more of a problem. If you're not feeling that I need somebody else in that space to complete me, so then you're not up to the halfness yet. You've got to feel the halfness. So the biblical tale, as the Kabbalists understand it, is that this is the story of your soul. Your soul is actually half a soul. And there's another half that has to complete your soul. And feeling that halfness is healthy, is good. Because that creates the vessel, the openness for the other half to come. And that other half is not a luxury. It's not an addition. It's not to enhance your life. It's to be complete. So based on this understanding, the attraction that we have, the fact that we are attracted to that mysterious other, the base of that attraction, the spiritual base of it is that I am searching to complete my soul, the other half of my soul. And that search is so primal, so deep within me, because my default state of being, my original state of being, is like Adam and Eve before they were split. One being with two sides. My current state is, I'm only one side of that. I'm only one side of the story. The other side I'm looking for. And so the force that is attracting me is to attract me to that other side, to find that other half. Is to find my completeness. The magnetism between the male and the female is the magnetism of finding completeness, of finding the other half. Or putting it even in deeper terms, the magnetism that I'm feeling is not just my yearning to find the other half, but at the core of my being, I'm actually yearning for oneness. At the core of our soul, what we really want, our deepest yearning, is oneness, is unity. Because that is the core of everything. God, who is one. Like we say, Shema Yisrael, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. What that means is that God is the ultimate oneness. And He's the source of everything. And so everything in the world really yearns to go back to its oneness. To find the oneness again. And so therefore, my current state of separateness is not comfortable. It's not where I'm supposed to be. I need to be part of a oneness. And what's a oneness? A oneness is where, if you can take one opposite with another opposite, two opposite extremes, and you can make a team, a unity, a oneness, a connection from them, that shows that there's something bigger that unites us. True unity is when two opposite forces come together and click. Then you have absolute unity. Then you have oneness that there's a sense there's something bigger than you. So back to the verse in Genesis, it says that God created him in His image, in God's image. When are we in God's image? When male and female are together. When we're united together, that's God's image. Because God is not male or female. God encompasses both. He transcends both. And so when the two are together, that is a reflection of God's oneness. It's interesting, the Kabbalists say that the power of reproduction, the fact that human beings can give birth to another human being, and that person who was given birth can eventually also give birth to another human being ad infinitum, and that can go on forever and ever. This is the power of infinity within the human being. My infinite power is that I can give birth to someone who can give birth to someone who can give birth forever. That is an infinite power. And when can we be infinite? Only when we're in the image of God. When male and female are together. So at our core, what we're seeking is unity, oneness. Or putting it in other words, what we're seeking is God. And that can only happen when the opposites come together as one. So this is what we're really attracted to. This is what attraction is. This is what the pull is. The question is, why then does physical beauty come into it? Why would then we be attracted to somebody who we find physically beautiful? Why is that our attraction? Where is that coming from? Okay, let's say that our general yearning for a relationship is coming from a deep place in our soul to find our other half and to unite as one. But why would I assume my other half has to be physically attractive, beautiful? Maybe not. Maybe my other half is physically unattractive. If we just think about it rationally for a minute, if I'm looking for my other half, well, it could be anyone, I don't know who it is. They may be somebody who is tall or short. If I say that I insist on looking for somebody tall, whether I'm tall or not, but I'm looking for somebody tall, we'd say, okay, I mean, it's not such a smart thing to say, because you're then excluding people who are short who might be wonderful. If I say they have to be Australian, well, you're narrowing down, the options. Like, why would you say that? So if I say they have to be physically attractive to me, well, again, like, who says? Who says the other half of your soul is physically attractive to you? Maybe they're not. Maybe the other half of your soul is somebody who's not physically attractive to you, and you have to overcome that. You're going to have to overcome a lot of stuff in a relationship. Maybe that's it. Physical attraction. You're going to have to overcome not being attracted to them. That sounds very scary. But we can all identify in our experiences times when attraction shifted. When somebody who at first glance was very attractive, until they opened their mouth. Then they ruined it. As soon as they started talking and sharing some of their opinions or the way they think, the external physical attraction just fell away very quickly, and we sort of have to leave the room. Sometimes that happens quickly, sometimes that happens gradually. Sometimes somebody who can be externally beautiful to you, but when their real colors are shown and you really get to know them, the externality is so meaningless that it's just gone. And the opposite as well. Somebody who at first glance, their looks didn't capture you at all. On the contrary. But you were forced to get to know them. And something changed. Not just that their personality captured you, but they actually became physically attractive to you when you got to know their inner personality. I have a friend who was set up on a blind date in the Hasidic tradition, where there was an intermediary, a shadchan, a matchmaker, who had suggested a match for these two. And they went out for the first time. And in the Hasidic tradition, you contact the matchmaker after the first date to tell them if you're interested in meeting a second time or not. It doesn't get too personal until it gets further on into the relationship, and so there's an intermediary in between. So he called up the matchmaker after the first date and said, "Listen, thank you, but no, like, it was an attraction issue. Like, he was completely not attracted to her at all, to the extreme. Like nothing to talk about." So the matchmaker said to him, "But she thinks you're the best in the world. She's never met anyone like you. Like, she's basically like almost like love at first. Like you can't just meet her a second time, just like to not break her heart." And he said, "But I'm totally not interested in her. I don't want to lead her on. Just meet her a second time, and then you can politely sort of, emphasize your differences, and you'll, but like it'll break her heart if you don't meet her again, because she can't stop talking about you." Meanwhile, she had called the matchmaker after the first date, saying, "I'm sorry, I'm not interested. He's really just not my type at all." Also a physical attraction thing. And the matchmaker said, "Well, that's a pity, because he's crazy about you. He thinks you're the one." And I really think, maybe give him a second chance at least, They met a second time. And, when you're told that somebody's crazy about you, it's a bit hard to, totally reject them. There has to be some sense of openness or something. And so they met the second time, but, with a little bit more openness than the first time. But still, they called the matchmaker and said, no, I really don't think so. He said, "You're sure?" "Oh, look, Anyway, they both agreed to meet a third time. And the third time, it started to melt a little bit. And they actually really enjoyed each other's company, and they laughed so much. And they were so relaxed, because both of them thought they're not actually meeting for any, future together. They're just being polite, so they could be off guard and relaxed. They enjoyed it so much. Anyway, they're married today. They're very happily married today. And what that matchmaker did is very clever. Now, I'm not saying that we can all just make up stories and lie, although there is a tradition that matchmakers do that, and there's a reason for it, because a match is something that is so irrational. It's so higher than logic that sometimes truth is not even an appropriate vessel for it. There needs to be something that's a bit higher than truth, a bit stretched beyond the truth. And here, she recognized, the matchmaker recognized, that this couple are being very superficial. First glance, these knee-jerk reactions, no, I'm not interested. But there's more to a person. When you see a person the first time, you've only seen their external self, and that external self has not been backed up by any of their personality, by any of their light, any of their soul. Not everyone makes a great first impression. And no one can give over all of themselves in one moment. So you've only seen 1% of the person, their externality. When you get to know them, so you fill in the gaps. There's more body. They become three-dimensional. They become a person, not just a picture. And in that full picture of the person, the full body of the person, even the physical can become attractive when you've seen the inner part of the person, when you've seen their inner beauty. It could be that what you are unattracted to is only a small percentage of themselves, and that could be nullified by the greater percentage of the person to the point where they become physically attractive as well. The unattractiveness is nullified, is overwhelmed by the full picture of a real human being. So then why is the world so captivated by physical beauty, by the external beauty, by a picture? Why do we get excited by a person who is physically attractive? So the Kabbalists have an interesting approach to this. The Kabbalistic term for beauty is tiferet. In Hebrew, the word tiferet is translated loosely as beauty. And in Kabbalistic terminology, it's one of the 10 attributes of the divine, one of the divine lights of creation is called tiferet, which means beauty. But more specifically, the word tiferet means harmony. The Kabbalists say that beauty comes from taking different aspects, different realities, and harmonizing them together. That is what beauty is. So a beautiful scene, a beautiful picture or painting is where you have different colors and different shapes, and they somehow work together into harmony. If you had a canvas, a blank canvas, it's not beautiful. Even if you had a blue canvas, a nice blue, you can't call it beauty yet. There has to be some contrast, there has to be some interrelationship of colors or shapes or textures to make something beautiful. And so the word tiferet, which is the term that the Kabbalists use for beauty, really means harmony, different things working together nicely. Proportion, synchronicity, symmetry. There needs to be various aspects that are working together in harmony. That is what beauty means. In music, the same thing would be that you could have a very beautiful instrument, but if you play just one note on that instrument, it's not yet beautiful music. It's the multiplicity. It's a group of notes together, a string of notes or a harmony of notes. There needs to be multiplicity that are working together. That's what makes beauty. So, a beautiful person means somebody who, when you look at them, there is symmetry. There is harmony in their look. The proportion of their facial features is correct. The distance between their eyes and their nose and their mouth the size of their head, the size of their face is proportionate. It works together. Their facial features are getting on with each other. That's called beautiful. And each one of us, we notice different things or call different things beautiful. You know, which type of nose is beautiful, which type of eyes are beautiful. That may be different to each person. But it's got to work together. In your eyes, which is very much a subjective view, your view of it, things are working together. There's harmony there. If there's disunity in the face, disharmony, if the distances are not proportionate, if it's not, you're not comfortable looking at that, it doesn't give you that sense of beauty, so then we're not attracted to that. Can you see what the inner core of that is, what we're really looking for? We're not looking for symmetry in eyes, or that the nose and the mouth are a good distance from each other. Surely that's not what we're looking for. No one, when they write their list of what I'm looking for in a match, says, I want somebody whose eyes are equidistant, whose nose is a comfortable space away from their mouth, and whose ears are balanced. Like this is not what we're searching for. And certainly none of that is going to spell a happy life. Like no one looks at their relationship and says, it's the symmetry in your face that does it. We're so happy because you got the right size nose. No one ever says that, at least that I know of. So what are we looking for? We're looking for symmetry, but not the external one. We're looking for balance, for harmony, but not the face, in souls. We're looking for a soul that will harmonize with me. I'm looking for somebody who I can fit with, who I can sit comfortably with, who we can work together, who we can balance together, we can create a unity. You can be you, I can be me, and we can still work together. That's what I'm looking for. The external expression of that, the external version of that, the physical version of that is a harmonized face, a beautiful look, a symmetrical body. That's the external version of something very internal that I'm looking for. I'm looking for inner harmony, for somebody who I can get on with, who I can make peace with, who can encompass and engage and include me, and I can work with them. That we can be symmetrical together. That's actually what I'm looking for. The physical beauty is just a physical version of something inner that I'm looking for. Meaning it's the wrong thing. It's not what I'm actually looking for. I'm attracted to it because that's my knee-jerk. The first thing I see is the symmetry of a face, of a body. That's the first thing I notice, because we are physical beings, and the first thing I see with my eyes is your physical shape. And so when that physical shape to me is symmetrical, fits, gets on, that presses a button that, this is what I'm looking for. Yeah, but not that bit. Not symmetry in the physical body. You're looking for symmetry in the soul. Someone who you can get on with, who you can harmonize with. So if we stop there, if we stop our search at looking for external symmetry, physical attraction, so then we may chase after that house that is beautifully apportioned and very nicely presented and great furniture and decor, but I can't live there. It's not what I can live with. Because that's not what I'm actually looking for. The beauty I'm looking for is an inner beauty, a harmony that I can click with. And that's far deeper than the face. That's going to come in the personality. in the attributes, the character of the person, in their goals and their visions and their beliefs and their priorities? Is there harmony there? Harmony in their face doesn't help me, but if I can harmonize with their priorities, with their outlook in life, if we can gel on that level, that's the connection. That's where the connection comes. So here again, the search for beauty, for attraction, is a physical manifestation of a much deeper search that we're looking for a soul unity, for creating oneness. It's interesting that verse that we quoted from Proverbs, false is charm and beauty is empty. A woman who fears God, she should be praised. So, at first this verse seems to be completely rejecting beauty. That it's the wrong thing. You're looking for the wrong thing. Don't look for a person with beauty and charm. Look for a person who fears God, who has good values, who's an upright person. But you could actually interpret it in a deeper level. It once happened, the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Schneerson, in the last years of his life, every Sunday would distribute dollars. People would line up outside of his office. He would give $1, American dollar, to give to charity, give the person a blessing. And it was sometimes a very brief encounter. There are videos that you can see. They videoed most of these encounters, and you can see sometimes there'll be like 10,000 people in the line on one Sunday, filing past. And each one would get $1 and a blessing, and sometimes there'd be a brief interaction. They'd ask a question, or the Rebbe would say something. So there's a video from 1991 where a young woman comes in front of the Rebbe, and she speaks to him in Hebrew. And she says to him, "I am the winner of the Miss Israel pageant." She won the beauty pageant in Israel. She's Miss Israel, the most beautiful girl in Israel. She won the prize. And she'd come to America to compete in Miss World. So she says to the Rebbe, "Please give me a blessing and bless my family, and please bless me that I should get married very, very soon." She said a very emotionally asked him for a blessing to get married very soon. And the Rebbe gave her a blessing for her family, gave her $1. And then she moved on, but the Rebbe called her back. And the Rebbe said to her this verse, "Sheker hachein vehevel hayofi." That the charm is false and beauty is empty. At first, seeming to say to her that, like, you're Miss Israel, like, so what? Like, beauty is false. But the Rebbe continued and said, but the commentaries on that verse say, the mystical commentaries say, that the end of the verse is not contradicting the first, it's adding to it. It says that charm is false, beauty is empty. A woman who fears God, she is praiseworthy. The Rebbe said what that means is that beauty and charm on their own are false and vanity and empty. But a woman who fears God and who uses her charm and her beauty for the fear of God, for doing good and for holy purposes, she's praiseworthy. Then the charm and the beauty are also praiseworthy. Which means that if beauty is just about the external presentation, if that's all it is, if it's about a Miss Israel pageant and a Miss World pageant, okay, so you won Miss Israel, like, therefore what? What does that do? You could argue it could do more bad than good. But if you take your beauty, and if that becomes an external expression of an internal beauty, if the beauty that you try and create in the world is a beauty of harmony, of harmonizing with people, of connecting and allowing people to work together, to increase goodness in the world, if that's where you use your beauty, so then the beauty is praiseworthy. It's no longer empty when it's used for that purpose. And the Rabbi gave her an extra $1 and said, please spread this message to all your colleagues who are in the Miss World pageant. So this means that we don't need to denigrate physical beauty or ignore attraction or feel that it's a meaningless thing. We just have to keep it in its perspective, that what we're really yearning for, what we're really looking for, is oneness, is unity. What we're really seeking is the other half of our soul, and therefore what we're looking for is someone who can harmonize with us. And our beauty is not our external self either. It's the warmth that we can show to another person. It's the openness and encouragement that we can give to another person. It's the way we can connect to somebody, to hear what they have to say, to be present for them, to offer them what we can offer and to receive from them what they can offer us. That harmony is our true beauty. And when we see that in another person, so then we see their true beauty. And we can be attracted to somebody who we never thought we'd be attracted to. And we can become much more attractive when we have that sense of oneness, that openness to the other. Okay. Any questions, comments? I've been talking a lot. Yeah.
So where's the notion of animals that come into this? So some animals can have multiple partners, obviously. Some animals have one partner for the rest of their lives. On a very basic scale, you can say humans are different to animals, but where is there overlap between?
So certainly the idea of soulmate is a human thing. It's not an animal thing. We do find that say the dove, for example, doves match and mate, for a lifetime. I'm not sure what other species do. There is an idea that always in nature there'll be a prototype. For every ideal in the human world, there'll be an example of it in nature. But it's not, for them, not a choice. An animal works purely instinctively. So it's not that the dove said that, I've had it, messing around. I'm sticking to, one partner and like settling down and, becoming a family dove. That they are programmed to do it that way. Just like the other species that don't do that. It's not an immoral thing. That's their instinct. The human being has the choice to be either way. We could be an animal. We've got much in common with animals, and so we could live animalistically, follow all of our urges, and just simply be a hedonistic being, or we can transcend the animalistic side and be what a human's supposed to be. And we all struggle with that for our lifetime. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Very interesting. How do you know that the partner that you've chosen is the right soul partner?
Okay. That is going to be next week's topic of identifying the soulmate. We said here about this other half of the soul.
Yeah.
So how do you know who that is? Is there only one? Is there only one person in the universe that's the other half of my soul? What if I missed out? Or can I miss out? Or could I have more than one? That we're going to discuss at length, God willing, next week.
So a similar question, but probably for next week. As someone who wants to find a partner and just didn't find, and still searching, and I know a friend, this is years, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, and there's such a strong yearning, and we all say, well, focus on something else, someone will come along, you're too intense.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, she's still searching, maybe a bit giving up, I don't know. 40-something, a woman. So some people may be destined to be alone in this life.
Okay, it's a very interesting question and very important question. I don't believe that people are destined to be alone. Sometimes people are destined to be alone for a certain amount of time, or that could be. But I think there's no one answer to all people who haven't found a partner. Sometimes you have people who are wonderful people, who have made effort, and it just hasn't happened yet. Sometimes you have a person who is a wonderful person, but there's a switch that they need to make, or there's a bit of a shift within themselves that they need to make. Because there's sometimes a pattern where it's not like they've never met anyone. They've met people, but it's gone to a certain time and then fallen apart.
Yeah.
Or they're always meeting a certain type of person who is not serious or not for them, or sometimes there's a pattern in their relationships, so that needs to be looked at. Where's that coming from? Sometimes they were hurt once upon a time, could have been a long time ago, and due to that they hold a certain fear inside them that as soon as something gets serious they will sabotage it because they don't want to risk getting hurt again, or something like that. Or there could be patterns that they saw in their own family that they're repeating. These are all, I'm just throwing out all different possibilities, and the other possibility is that tomorrow they'll meet someone and the whole story is forgotten and all those years disappear. All these things are possible. Some of that we'll see also next week when we talk about who is one soulmate, how many soulmates they have, and how does it work at different times in life. Some of that also will be answered.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
So,